Hi friends! It's been a while since my last video. In January I was focused on work and drawing birds for the Burp Fest challenge. Then we went to Vietnam for months and a half. I was planning, and how silly and naive of me it was. I was planning to make some videos while I was there. Yes, I filmed a lot of footage there, but I didn't felt like editing. I will just make a small compilation of best moments to share with you in the end of this video. After we returned home, it was a nice warm spring in full bloom. The garden welcomed us with many flowers, and it was nice to be back home. It's been already a month since we are home, and another reason why I didn't post any video is because I had a creative burnout. I'm sure any creative person has it every once in a while, so at the end of our trip and returning home, I really didn't feel like drawing. I was angry at myself for bringing so much art materials to Vietnam and not using them. I was beginning to doubt the idea of being an illustrator, and was I not better off doing something else? I didn't draw anything in the second half of February, and in March I only did one illustration of Draw This in Your Style. So the last week of March I started reading the book of Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way. My husband gifted it to me for this new year, and I was planning to read it sometime in the future, so I figured that was a good time. I've heard about this book long time ago. As a matter of fact, I even gifted it to my ex-boyfriend maybe 8 years ago. But recently, I saw some friends and people I follow on Instagram using this book, and I figured maybe it was time for me as well to read it. So if you are not familiar with this book, it's a 12-week program on rediscovering your inner creative self. The book is meant to be for all kinds of artists, painters, writers, photographers, singers, cake decorators, whatever. Author claims there is a creative self in every person, and even if you don't do anything creative right now, you can still read it. So there is one chapter to read every week, with some exercises to do, and that doesn't take much time, maybe 2-3 hours a week. A recurring task every week is to start your day writing morning pages, 3 pages of brain dump, and also to make an artist date with yourself alone once a week. Right now I'm on week 4 and the changes are very slow, but I can already see them. Overall, I think I should better make an update once I finish with this book, and then I will be able to judge the changes and the impact. Tell me in the comments if you heard before about this book, or maybe if you already read it. Here is me drawing another DTIYS, and as a matter of fact, if you don't know what to draw or feel stuck creatively, redrawing other people's art in a challenge like that could be a good idea. Here I'm using my favorite technique, one base layer of watercolor paint and color pencil for textures on top. You can see my workflow in details in my previous video. I will try to link it here. I was pretty happy how this drawing turned out. In the end, I also cleaned it in Photoshop and added additional textures on top. When we arrived home, dandelions were in a full bloom, and I decided to make dandelion jelly. I already tried making it last year and it was pretty good. I was adding it every time I ate oats to sweeten them. I couldn't find exactly the same recipe, so I just ended up googling and figuring out a combined recipe based on the few I read. Basically, it's just juice of dandelions mixed with pectin and sugar. You can Google the proportions if you're curious. After picking up the dandelions from our garden, a very important step is to remove the green part, because otherwise it would add bitterness to the jelly. After filling the mason jars and closing them, it's important to boil them in a big pot to seal them. I didn't film it, but if you do any sort of conservation, you know how it works. Also, next day I found out that I didn't put enough pectin and jelly was still liquid, so I had to reopen the jars, fix it and do all the process again. That's one of the reasons I don't want to give you the recipe, because I didn't manage it on the first try. Our first renovation project of this year is changing the fence of our vegetable garden, or how French people call it, potager. As you can see, in the old fence they used wooden sticks, and with time they all become wobbly. Some even started to rot and completely detach from the ground. It was clear it couldn't survive another season. And as we were already on it, we also decided to change the size of the planting area and make it bigger. So we had a few sunny days, and the first task was to detach the metal grid from 3 parallel tension lines. There were probably a few hundreds of metal wire twist ties holding it all together, so it took some time. But with the good weather it was pleasant to do. After that we could roll the old grid, as we were planning to reuse it, detach the tension lines and then get rid of the old wooden sticks. It was pretty nice to see the land without the fence, and I will show you in the next vlog how we will install the new fence. I was hoping to sew more this year, and thankfully I already started a new project. I've bought some patchwork fabric on the flea market a few weeks ago, and I was immediately inspired to make a patchwork skirt. I didn't film the initial part where I sorted and cut the fabrics to pieces, so here you can see me ironing and sewing together in one line the pieces of the same size. I didn't use any existing pattern, I just had this idea and I made measurements on the little sticky note. For now I didn't finish sewing the skirt. I will continue with that, and if it will turn out nicely, I will make a pattern and share it with you in the next video. One of the things I did immediately as I returned home was planting the seedlings in the greenhouse. My family in Ukraine already planted theirs in the end of January, beginning of February, so I felt really late planting mine in mid-March. Here I'm watering the stuff that I planted in the ground: radishes, beetroots, salads and other greenery. A little room tour in the greenhouse. That's how the seedlings are growing. Tomatoes, peppers and eggplants were planted mid-March, and cucumbers and zucchini in the end of the March. Now they are not that small. In a few more weeks they will be ready to move to the ground and enjoy wind and sun. When I'm editing this video, there are a few cold weeks ahead of us, so I'm waiting for the warmer time to move them. One of the good impacts from the Artist Way book was to rediscover the things that I enjoyed doing in the past. For me, one of them was to make aimless walks. Walking just for walking. So we went for walks a few times a week and it felt pretty nice. Also, I'm finally starting to draw more and enjoy the process. Here is another watercolor plus color pencil illustration. And basically the day I dedicated a full day to drawing. The farm pencil sketch was the first illustration of the day, and this frog was second. After that I also spent some time editing them and forest watercolor elements, and I tried making surface pattern. Of course I'm still learning and it's very simple for now, but with my emerging love for sewing, I really hope one day to be able to sew with fabrics of my own design. And now, as I promised, some footage from our trip to Vietnam. Enjoy and see you in 2 weeks. Bye!